喂，咁多位大家好，我係梁 Sir。咁我哋又嚟到一年一度咧去解下 DSE 嘅卷咯。今日2025年咧，好多人都話好難啊嚇，尤其是當年嘅考生啦。咁但係其實係咪真係咁難先？可能你聽完我嘅講解，你會發現啦，喂，其實有翻相應嘅知識啊，有翻相應嘅技巧啊，其實題目都未至於咁困難啫。咁而家啦，嗱，我哋嚟做一擊破咯。嗱，頭兩條咧都係有關於操作顯微鏡嘅。咁我哋就係啦，以下呢兩張嘅圖片咧，就去顯示翻呢一個人類嘅血液圖片。咁我哋用光學顯微鏡咧去睇嘅。咁Y 嗰張圖咧就係用一個較為高嘅倍數咧去觀察個白血球嘅。咁X 咧就係低倍數喎。咁第一條啦，哇，得48人答啱嘅啫喎。其實啦就係問翻咧，我哋有兩大個步驟啊，阿1同阿2要我哋排翻一個正確嘅步驟次序，就係將一個低倍數就轉去高倍數，咁從而啦就去睇翻咧呢個白血球，喂，放大咗少少嚟睇。白血球咩樣嘅咧？就係其實考呢一樣嘢啫。其實望落去都熟口熟面㗎啦。呢一條咧都真係翻翻地炒㗎啦。咁實質呢條題目咧考我哋嘅技能就係調節我哋嘅波片，去將我哋嘅目標物咧擺翻去我哋視野嘅中心，亦都係調節翻我哋嘅顯微鏡去獲得一個較為高嘅放大率。咁從而咧睇翻一個影像咁解啫。咁過往嘅題目咧都考過大家㗎啦，如何用高倍數去做嘢。咁無論啦，你係做 SBA 啦，定係做題目啦，過往啦都有考過大家咧用高倍數去觀察啲細胞或者我哋嘅樣本啦。記緊啦，我哋係先從低倍數着手嘅，然後啦就將我哋想要去觀察嘅樣本啊、細胞啊就移去我哋視野嘅中心。你校佢喺中心，然後再放大翻佢，用翻我哋嘅摺物鏡校翻高倍數，然後啦再用翻我哋嘅微調嘅轉盤去調節翻，去聚焦翻。咁今次冇問到嘅就係調節翻我哋嘅光圈啦，去校光翻呢個影像。今次冇問到嘅，咁下次其實真係可能問翻。咁點解要校光啲嘅影像啊？咁因為啦，當我哋聚焦咗用高倍數去 zoom in 嘅時候咧，咁我哋觀察個細胞嘅視野嘅範圍咧，其實係細咗㗎。咁亦都少咗光線去穿越咧我哋嗰個視野當中，所以啦，我哋就要調節個光圈，令到有多啲光咧進入去我哋嘅影像當中咯。咁所以啦，根據翻第一步你已經知道要將個樣本調節到中心位置嘅話咧，我哋已經可以同 A、B say goodbye 啦。因為 A、B 咧就話第一步即刻就轉個高倍數俾我啦，然後先再揾翻個白血球喎，哇，揾到天光都未必揾得到啊，係咪？咁一定係 C 同 D 噶啦。不過 C 同 D 咧又有啲分別喎。一個就係話啦，將個波片啦移離開你，然後就移去左邊；另一個咧就係移向你，然後就移去右邊。死啦，點移法咧？咁呢個咧就係考翻我哋對於個顯微鏡嘅影像產生個認知啦。顯微鏡嘅影像產生同我哋實質見到嗰個樣本啊、嗰個細胞啊、嗰個真正嘅物件咧，其實啦係倒轉咗嘅。咁呢個倒轉有兩個意思，一個係上下倒轉，一個係左右倒轉，兩者結合。所以如果我真正嘅物件係個 P 字嘅話咧，你會望到係個 D 字。咁即係話啦，啱啱好有一個物件俾咗你，你就順時針轉180度，咁就係我哋嘅影像咯。咁所以啦，個口訣就係上即係下，下即係上，左即係右，右即係左。咁所以個概念咧就係講緊，而家我要將呢個白血球由大致上好似左上角嘅位置啦，就移去影像視野嘅中心嘅話咧，咁即係話我要將個白血球喺個影像嘅層面當中，就係咧向右下角去喐嘅，係嘛？向右邊喐，向下面喐，係嘛？個影像就係咁樣喎。但係啦，喂，個波片咧，即係個真相啊，就唔係咁噶嘛。個真相其實個白血球咧係喺呢度啊，應該係咪啊？因為啱啱可以上下倒轉、左右倒轉啊嘛。咁即係話個波片咧，我就應該要向上喐，然後向左喐，先有呢一個左上角喐嘅技巧啊嘛。咁所以啦，就係離開我同埋向左喐。所以答案咧就係 C 咯。咁今次啦就係白血球啦，影咗張相俾你睇。喂，我要將佢拉中間喎。咁下次啦有啲咩題型嘅變奏咧？咁我就講咯。喂，而家我去睇緊咧一個白血球啊，或者隻阿米巴變形蟲咧。喂，佢喐緊啊，衰鬼！佢喐緊去邊度啊？左下角去喐， 喐緊左下角，即係而家咧，我哋喺呢一個放大咗嘅白血球當中啦。哇！我明明移咗佢中間㗎啦，喂，但係佢仲係喐緊㗎喎，陰公喐緊啦，喂，向住左下角喐，佢喐下喐下，你唔理佢，離開咗你嘅視野㗎咯喎，係咪啊？咁係咪即係話你要將佢拉翻去個視野嘅中央啊？所以題目啦就會問你啦，究竟我要點樣喐個波片，從而令到個白血球啊或者嗰隻阿米巴變形蟲咧係能夠翻去我視野嘅中心位置？你就嘗試下喺留言區留低個答案，睇下你嘅概念啱唔啱？咁我亦都想借呢個機會啦，去同大家講講啦，由14年去到23年，再去到而家25年啦。喂，其實顯微鏡嘅題目都叫做出得都多啊，係咪啊？咁無論啦，係14年嘅嗱，俾晒步驟你，要你排次序嘅啫。喂，我由低倍數要去到高倍數喎，點做啊？又或者啦，去到2020年啦，你望到條題目啦，一模一樣咁就係衰鬼，係嘛？上次睇維管束，由低倍數去到高倍數，係咪？個題型係一模一樣㗎，係轉咗嗰個議題咁解啫嘛，由植物細胞變成動物細胞。當年得28% 嘅同學答啱嘅啫，5年之後再出過都唔過50%，都係去到48% 咋。咁你話會唔會再出啦？長題都出過顯微鏡啦，點會唔再出 MC 啊？Hello student, I'm Mr. Leung. So let's talk about the 2025 HKDSE question. Just like before, we shall talk about the MC question and then talk about the long question. So let's start the question. Question 1-2 is about how can we use the microscope. So we have the photomicrograph X and Y, and they show the human blood sphere observed under a light microscope. And it's also given that photomicrograph Y show a higher magnification of the red blood cell than in the photomicrograph X. So for the question 1, only 48% students got it correct. So it's asking the combination. We need to do the matching to describe the correct steps. Step 1, step 2. For using the microscope in order to obtain the image in the photomicrograph Y from that of the photomicrograph X, it means that we are changing from the low magnification to the high magnification. So for this question, it's checking us the skills, adjust the slide to the center and object in the view of the view, and adjust the microscope to achieve higher magnification. So you will find that this question is a bit familiar. We did it before. For the observation at a higher power magnification, we need to focus the specimen with low power objective first, and move part of the specimen you want to observe in details to the center of the view, and then rotate the nosepiece to select a high power objective and focus with the fine adjustment knob. This question, it doesn't ask you about the steps of using the fine adjustment knob, so maybe next time it can ask you. And also, for this question, it doesn't ask you about to adjust the diagram to brighten the view if necessary. Because when we are using the high power magnification, so the area we are observing is a bit smaller. So that's why there will be less light entering our eye. So we need to adjust the diagram to let more light pass through the specimen and go into our eye for observation. So after we talk about the basic skills, we can say goodbye to option A and B, because both of them, they talk about that, step 1, we need to change it to the high power magnification. Sorry. So we should move the specimen to the center of the view first. Therefore, we need to think about option C and D. The only difference is that, shall we move the slide away from the observer and then to the left, or we need to move the slide towards the observer and then to the right? So it checks us about another concept of the image observed under the light microscope. So we have the object, we have the specimens, and then we observe it under the microscope. It is an image. So the image is inverted. So it's upside down and laterally inverted. So what is the real letter we are observing? The specimen is P, letter P, and then under the microscope, the image will become D. So the idea is that we have the object, the specimen, and then when we observe the image, we just turn it clockwise 180 degrees, and then we shall get the image. Therefore, the idea is that when we see the image is on the top, it means that in the object, in the in the specimen, it should be at the bottom. And what if the cell in the image is on the left-hand side? So in the real object, it should be on the right-hand side. Now what we are going to do, for the image, I want to move the ribose cell go to the center. It means that I need to move it to the right-hand side and move it downwards. So it seems like that move it to the right bottom corner to move it to the center of the view. And when we consider about the slide, so you should see that the slide that's the real specimen, the ribose cell should be here, right? Therefore, we should move the cell upwards and then to the left to move it to the center of the view. So we should move it away from the observer and then to the left. So therefore, the answer will be C. So for this time, the ribose cell, it doesn't move, right? But maybe next time, it can ask you that possible question variation is given that the ribose cell, or next time we observe the amoeba, is moving towards left bottom corner in the view. It means that what we observe in the image, the ribose cell is moving this direction. So how can you move the slide so that the ribose cell or the amoeba is in the center of the field of the view? So leave your answer in the comment section and let's see your understanding of the skills. Is it clear or not? And I would like to grab this chance to talk about that. Starting from 2014 and then to 2023 and even 2025, you can see that a lot of questions about using the microscope. No matter from the 2014 very straightforward one, I give you all the steps and then ask you to do the sequencing, or just like 2020, you can see that exactly the same question, right? Last time we observed the vascular bundle and observed from low magnification to high magnification, and this time we observed the ribose cell. So you can see that for 2020, only 28% of students got it correct. And from 2020 to 2025, 5 years, and there were only 48% students got it correct.